carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors, so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores, and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep, wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you. God bless this republic.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and central. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, IndianaFreedomTalkRadio.com in memoriam, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, Liberty Tree Radio live feed on YouTube, and UltraNet, Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. And it is a beautiful Monday. It is the 14th of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal, the dance of swords in the battle for the Republic. Congratulations, you're in the competition. I say, well, smelling that coffee here, oh yeah, we're going to taste and we got fires. Yeah, we do. We got fires all over the country, and it's amazing. Well, west of the Mississippi, of course, and I'm sitting here sucking a little cup of coffee in there. I'm listening to the communists tell you all about how all of a sudden climate change, the explosion of climate change all at once. And all of a sudden, fires just happening all over the place. Fireworks setting them off, guys with packs of matches. But remember, the FBI is not going to look at it too closely, and it's climate change. But I'm amazed about this climate change because the climate change stops right at the Canadian border, apparently because they're, politically correct queers. The $3 bill government, is, in the back pocket of the UN. And then it stops at the Mexican border. Why is it everybody ignores this? It stops at the Mexican border. Why is it over on the other side of the very evil and bad Mexico? And it has to be because the excuse for everybody jumping the border and headed north is because of that hell called Mexico. Well, if it's hell, shouldn't it have some fire? A little brimstone? I mean, boy, this is really amazing how this selective border-esque climate change is like very, 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 very narrow gauged for some reason. I don't know. Hold on. Let me have another sip of coffee here and think about that. Well, let's see. Borders? Nature doesn't know borders. They told me that. In fact, even the leftists, the parasite, bottom-feeding filth and excrement that, are the leftists. Well, hold on. Let me think here. Well, no, they said that the borders are irrelevant. But, boy, they seem to be with regard to our climate change. Read that communist attack on American infrastructure, including, of course, the rural areas. Now, I have to agree with what somebody said here earlier today that, well, yeah, they've caught some of them, but let me ask you something. How many do you think are face down and kind of barbecued because somebody saw them lighting something and you hear a... Oh, got him right. Oh, he's thrashing a bit, but yeah, it's 180 grain, 30-06, soft point, and I cut mule deer in half with these, and, of course, there could be a 270, could be a 300 Win Mag, could be a 7 mil Remington Mag. But you see out west, people hunt mule deer ridge to ridge, and if I saw something like that, you just swing your gun around with the optics, pull the trigger, and I don't care who finds them. Nobody's going to have a clue who did it. But for that matter, okay, they're setting fire, so they're laying down, they get toasted. This is kind of fun. They get shot, and they're, horribly wounded, and then they get burned, and then they die. And everybody goes, well, we'd be found right away. It's like, no, they wouldn't. They'd be, the fire's going to spread around. They're going to be worried about, they might look for the epicenter of the fire to eventually find the body, but it's more likely about a day or two out, you're going to just be able to see where the larger corpses are by the circling buzzards. If you've ever been out west, guys, it didn't take long. Now, of course, these are barbecued. They'll be seared on the outside. It's kind of special. And so they're kind of barbecued, but, plump and juicy on the inside, which means with the weather they're having, probably about 3 or 4 hours, there'll be a people balloon, and, but there'll be a cooked people balloon. So they're going to kind of, it's not going to be pretty, okay? But, and there won't be the smell. Good thing you don't have smell-o-vision when they have those pictures, okay? So you don't know how many people are going to bother reporting. They're just not going to be around anymore. So Antifa has lost infantry in this period. Now, this is arson. And arson to me, okay, and I've had this conversation, try and put the gravity of this to proper perspective. There's a reason arson has always been a high crime in terms of American justice, and most countries have the same attitude. It is the nature of the horrific injuries that are created by a burn. You get shot with a bullet, you can stand there and actually tell somebody or talk about it for a bit before the pain catches up with you sometimes, and it can be really mean and nasty. But burns, they start out in just nothing but pain, and they don't go away in anything but layer and layer and layer and layer of pain after more pain, after more pain, after more pain if you survive. Now, I'm not trying to tell you don't want to survive. I'm just telling you, if you've never spent any time with a burn patient in an actual burn ward, then you do not understand when they flap their yap and go, well, it's just like, well, all they're doing is beating somebody's head in with a skateboard. Well, all they're doing is setting fires and burning things. Yeah, in populated areas where people get caught off guard and miscalculate and do all kinds of fun things, and then they get burned to death, okay? And it's like, well, I've told you, I will be using flame weapons for the same reason I'm my enemy. Okay, but in this case, these people have declared war on you, and you're not supposed to know about it. You've got a bunch of skank governors who need to be dragged out of their buildings and hung for being traitors to the United States. The American people, I don't care about the federal government. They're betraying us constantly. They're betraying us right now. This has all gone too far. The federal government is obviously intentionally wanting a bigger police state, and they want you to surrender all your freedoms. If you've been listening to the numbnuts on either side, we're going to make it mandatory mask law at the federal level. Did anybody catch that one this last 24 hours? Mandatory. I will end you. I'm finished with this. This is going to have to be, they're going to put the kibosh to this, and that means it's like so many things. We're going into a war for independence, and don't think it's going to be the Democrats leading the police state. It's going to be the Republican spineless curs working with foreign powers against the American people that will be right there with the Democrats. It'll be the Democrats and Republicans, two sides of the same coin, betraying America's freedom and betraying the Bill of Rights every step of the way, which is what this is all about, people. Let me ask you something. We have satellite technology. Weren't you all told, how many movies? In fact, here's the thing. I don't care what you go to. Go to Netflix, crazy town flicks. We call them nutty flicks. Take whichever one you want to. Amazon. I don't care. And look at the lineup of movies, action movies. And every one of them now, every one is the spy in the sky, and they see through the cameras, and they know everything that's going on, and it's futile to resist. Fear. You must fear. Fear everything. Fear, fear, fear. Big government. Fear, big government. Eye in the sky. Big brother, big brother, big brother. Where the hell's Big Brother? How are these nutcase, Fruit Loop, Twilight Zone, communists getting away with what they're doing. If I watch these movies and they know what your bunghole size is, they know how many hairs are on your, on your head. They can count how many armpit hairs the moment you lift your arm. They'll tell you all about how they can see this and know that and hear this and do whatever. And not only that, but they're going to come and kill you. But they just don't seem to turn all their special toys on and hunt these characters that are devastating your country. Have you noticed that? Ain't that special? Where's all the secret squirrel? Where is Secret Squirrel? I'm so confused about this. Hold on, let me take that cup of coffee and smell the coffee and taste. And coffee tastes right, but this thing doesn't smell right, doesn't act right. This whole thing is where they're trying to play the rubes / play the goy, and you're the rubes / the goy. Now, again, fires all over the place. Guys, do you realize we have a massive firefighting technology out there? I mean, I've talked about this for years. Because of the New West, the whole scam here is to try and drive all you peasants off your land so that the very wealthy can have their estates on your property and talk about how they brush the peasants aside because they're making the New West. Any of them that are promoting the New West, you need to walk up, put a bullet in their arse so fast, make their head swim. Well, just, again, black them out, that's done. Anybody promoting this New West crap is a monarchist / one of these elitist types that believe their feces doesn't stink, yours does. They all need to be dead. It's just all there is to it. Okay, and they're right there side by side. They're in the Sierra Club. They're in all of these other all fake-ass institutions, these arse-white pieces of trash that have been infiltrated intentionally so they could suck off federal money, donated money, and they route most of it to their back pockets. And what they use to harass and damage the country. Not to fix anything, not to make things better, but to damage the people and damage the country. That's what they're doing, okay? So, anyway, what can we do? Well, you can't do anything about these fires unless you want to go out and hunt some of these characters. And if everybody started hunting harder, it's easier to get them than it is in the city because, like I said, high-powered rifle, 1,000 yards. High-powered rifle, 500, 800, 700, 900, 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards. In fact, the competition would be to place different shooters and be talking in radio. Bob, how far are you out from that mark? Hold on, let me get a laser. I'm 1,231 feet. Wow, 12,000. Okay, wait a minute. Well, I'm 314 feet from that one. But let's see if I can. I'll tell you what, this is a challenge. You do the long shot, I'll do the short shot on the other one. Now, I'm going to turn right around and try to do a second tap on this other one that they dropped down the street. Down the road, he's putting some firecrackers up. And on my mark, and boom, and turn, and boom. And the competition begins, and it doesn't stop until every last one that rolls out of a vehicle to try and commit arson is dead or a doornail in the bush. I don't want to get back to the vehicle. They don't need anybody. In fact, if you go out there and, actually, tracer incendiary would help to deal with a boom, 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 boom. There we go. So if you got a Ma Deuce round, if you got an M250 caliber bolt gun, of course, you got to watch, light guns, the bullet's going to splatter. It's going to be pretty well impossible for them to get anything other than basic manufacture. Start going bigger, heavier bullets, they'll recover those, and they'll have, lands and grooves to work with. So the idea here is to pick the type of ammunition. Nozzler, really great for just shearing and blowing apart when they go through soft tissue. That's what you want to be thinking about. Super dynamic when it gets to the other end. And they just need to finish being gone because there's nothing going to fix these creatures. We're headed into a war. Escalation now is expected and, in fact, a given. I think we can talk about it, which is cool, but there's a whole bunch of people who have already figured it out. If you go through the ammunition in the last 24 to 48 hours, well, let's put it this way. Somebody else went through the ammunition in the last 24 to 48 hours, and example is UN Ammo has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 options in ammunition. And 4 of those are actually 50 caliber, but they're basically the same. One is with belted, one's belted, one's unbelted. So that's 2. Let's knock that down to 12, and then we can knock it down because, again, the 22, a couple of those are duplicates. Well, no, maybe not. Okay, guess what? Yeah, not even 20. We only got one 22. The others are 17 PMC, and the other one's 5 millimeter. And then after that, 50 cal, some 7.62 by 39, some 7.62 by 51, but outrageously priced. They're still less than $1 a round, and that's MagTech. So go check, see what they got at UNM. They still got some 8 millimeter Mauser too. I heard a voice. Jump in there, please.
Hey, this is Carl in Virginia. Speaking of 8 millimeter Mauser, Centerfire Systems once again has the Turkish 1893 Mauser barreled actions. These are now going for $130 a piece. They used to be $150, but this is a different batch, and this batch was not stored in the same armory. This one had a little bit more humidity, apparently, because these have some rust and pitting on them, but they are functional. It says that they may or may not have a front sight. If it doesn't, you can get a new one for like less than $7. Not a big deal. If it doesn't have a sight, get another one. Also at Centerfire Systems, they have the ATI brand stock for the Mauser. It's designed for the 98, but with a little bit of Dremel tooling, you can make that fit just fine. And you don't have to use the top piece that goes kind of where the handguard is. That's designed, they give you that so that you have a scope mount. So if you want to keep using your iron sights, you can just kind of omit that piece. Now that stock is going for $50 on sale. It used to be $80, now it's $50. And they also have 150 rounds of 8 millimeter Mauser as a Czech military surplus for $34. We still have that in stock, so right now is a really good time to go ahead and add that stuff to cart.
Excellent. And again, that's over at Centerfire Systems?
Yes, sir. $130 for the barreled action, $50 for the polymer stock, and $34 for 150 rounds of ammunition.
So basically, most everything we need, not quite, but most everything we need is there. We have $129.99, so $130. Typical. Well, again, these will clean up. That's not a problem. The big thing is in oxidation. These are probably again the grade Bs is what it comes down to. You got a grade A the first time around, first batch. But for looking to build a basic Mauser, and again, a couple things. If it's tired, then what you can do is go to town on it. Example: the B-square scope mount will fit where the front sight is. The rear sight, the rear ramp sight. All you have to do is disconnect that. You're gonna have to maybe soak it on this one. Get that if it's threaded or if it's pinned. Now it could be either way. If it's pinned, a cross pin for the pivot for the rail, then you just have to tap that right back out. But if it's threaded, then I would not just try to torque it with a screwdriver. I would hit it with some really decent penetrating oil, heat it up a little bit, and then let it sit for a bit. Just heat it enough so that the oil will follow the path of least resistance. And if there's oxidation, it'll pull through the oxidation. That's one of the old tricks. Just use a propane torch. And you don't sit there and turn it cherry red. That ruins everything. What you want to do is just heat it up enough, and what you do is get it warm. Then take your oil and apply it, and it will move through the rust. The oxidation will eventually be out of the way, depending on what you're doing. But that'll get into the threaded area, and at least it'll break the head of the screw, which usually has some adhesion to the body of whatever it's resting on. So, again, just thank you for bringing it up, because those are no FFL, not K98, Model 93s, K98. And then there are stocks available, and there is ammunition. In fact, there is 8 millimeter out there still. There's not much anything else, but there's 8 millimeter that you can cherry pick from several locations.
Yeah, the best price on ammunition on 8 millimeter is right there at Centerfire Systems. $34 for 150 rounds. That's a good deal.
You can't beat that. And for being able to put another rifle together and put it online, I'll tell you what, those little aim point aim point scope sights will work. You can use them with a fixed scope. You can use them by themselves. There's a number of different ways people are playing with them. I've been looking at some of the configurations, but I'm looking to see what else, if anything. Oh, come on. Now it doesn't want to operate.
Now, I will say from my experience of putting these rifles together, if you're going to go old school route with a regular, military wooden stock with all the, bayonet lugs and all the bands and all that stuff, that's a lot of hardware, and also assuming that you get a decent stock. I've gotten some stocks in that I bought that they came in 2 different pieces because they had fallen apart. The weak link on it, or the weakest link on that stock is right where that recoil lug is. And that was a really great stock to buy if all you wanted was the hardware off of it. Great, that's fine, but it's still kind of nasty condition as far as the hardware goes. But you don't want to go around to whole bunch of different sites, Sarco, Numeric, Apex, all these places looking for parts, and then have to pay shipping on all these parts. And at the end, you've spent $200 just on the stock alone. So you avoid all that. Go the simple route with that ATI polymer stock. If you want to be fancy, go with the Pro Mag brand Archangel stock. Again, you're gonna have to take out a Dremel tool and do a light amount of modification, but it'll fit just fine. And that stock gives you the capability of using a 15-round detachable magazine, which is kind of cool.
Right. One of the other things, they've got the Pro Mag. Let's see. I'm looking to see if they had. There are a couple of locations. Yeah.
And I found a 20-round fixed magazine extension designed for the 98. I don't know if it'll work on these or not. But I believe it was either at Numeric or Sarco. I can't remember exactly which. Very interesting. It might work because it is an 8mm. So maybe somebody else has an idea on that.
Right, I'm working on. I found another batch of Sporter stocks, and I haven't been able to go through what they had. Forgive me, I don't have the site right here in front of me. And it's one of those sidebar things. We've been very, very, very busy over this weekend, but I will dig that up again, because if you're looking at just putting the action into a workable, serviceable stock, there's a couple of different solutions. And if it's the Sporter stock, it's fine. What you want to do is get the rifle into, shoot mode as quickly as we can. It means that there would be no upper handguard, which is not a big deal. It's not critical anyway. But you could also build something if you chose to do so. Come on, people, a little bit of woodworking goes a long way. And it's a simple, straightforward process to come up with a lockdown system. Again, even building your own ring if you want to. Stock ring for the forend, but that's personal flavor choice ideas. So the fact that they have these back in stock means if somebody wants to experiment, do a little bit of work, see what kind of elbow grease you can put into it, these will come up and online quick. And again, if you were going to do this, I'm going to tell you this how it works: buy the ammo. If you're going to get one of these, buy the ammo today, right now. Buy the ammo. Grab as much as you can. If you're serious, if you got a bunch of 8mm Mausers anyway, keep plugging ammunition away. Everybody's been asking me, what should you do? Buy more ammo. Buy more ammo and buy more ammo. Why? Because it's not just for you, it's for the war effort. I want everybody to think about that. Right now, everybody's thinking, myself. Now, you really want to win? Think war effort. The other side figures they're going to either get government or they're going to get the government to kill you. Of course they do. They all figure they're going to hire the government to kill Americans. They figure they're not going to have to worry about it. We have to have a logistic solution in place, and the best way to do that is to tactically distribute all of the ammunition we have. It is impossible to grab smoke. It is impossible to grab smoke. There is nothing they can do to stop that from happening right now. And everybody realizes it. So now they're just getting as bold and blatant as they can about being either hyper-communist or demi-communist, and they're in your face. It's going to get them shot. So that's all there is to it. And there's nothing that's going to slow that down. It's not, in fact, slave or free, which will you be? I keep telling everybody the same thing over and over again. Well, what should we do? Well, here's where we are. Slave or free? Which will you be? That's your life choice right now. You don't want to make it simple? It's about as simple as it gets. You want to look at all this bend a knee, get on your belly crap. That's done. I would never ask of that of a person, and ain't no way in hell you're going to get me to do that. I will finish you right there. I swear to God, the more I watch some of this stuff, it's disgusting. It's like, get up off your, I want to slap you. I really do. Now, in that case, we're going to slap him with an 8mm round. That'd be kind of nice. So this is a good solution. Anything else? Jump in there, please. Anything else that we found that was interesting? And I wasn't trying to slap you. Okay, very good. Again, centerfiresystems.com, centerfiresystems.com, centerfiresystems.com. If you were looking for another project, antique Turkish 8mm Ottoman Mauser, 1893, complete, barreled action, no furniture, as is. Read what it says here. Well, no, hold on. Fair to good condition, may be missing front sight, serial number on bolt and receiver do not match. Could have rust and B pitting, or B pitting. Bore condition varies. Includes complete bolt action, trigger guard, and magazine floor plate and spring installed. So everything's there. It's just, again, going to be up and down condition-wise. Now, I'm going to point something out. We mentioned this before when we found these before. If you go to a gun show, go look in the junk boxes. No, don't go for the, oh, look, he's got everything sorted out. If you do that, look for the field grade parts. Don't look for the, I got to have the prettiest because that's going to be pretty expensive. It's going to cost more. Field grade parts are serviceable. They just don't have pretty finishes, or they've been so cleaned, or somebody even buffed them off to the point where the original parkerization or the original bluing or whatever the finish was that was used, sometimes paint even, have been worn off or worn down dramatically. They don't look pretty. They're functional. They're serviceable. When we were doing Model 93 Mausers, I went into one junk box. I pulled out 29 triggers, and triggers complete, $1 a piece. Now, those days are gone, but, again, depending on who's got the box, and right now with money the way it is, if you do have a gun show that's taking place in the area, just take a shopping list in and figure out what it is you might want to grab in the way of spare parts. But you will find sometimes even whole barreled, not barreled actions, but actions. With this particular rifle, I want you to think about something. If you were going to be motivated, spec the base of the case on the Mauser, and then ask yourself what other calibers or what's out there that's modern, that's close to that, but not even as big a caliber. Well, not big, as large a chambering that I could put in place of that. 7.62x39 would be an interesting option to experiment with. Why? Well, there's ammunition available. If you're building a bull barrel, you could have Douglas make you a barrel. And by the way, Douglas would make you a barrel with a small ring Mauser / a Model 93 thread, and it would just be a straight bull barrel. That's what I would probably order myself. And what you would get out of the deal is an incredibly strong barrel you could tool down if you wanted to, or leave it just the way it is. And this becomes a very classic Mr. Dolby gun. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking for a weapon, I'm not going to blaze away. I'm not going to be fair. It's a monkey poke rifle. I'm going to carry this thing, go out there, fire one round, take a guy's knee off, take a guy's, crotch out, hit him in a horrible place, and it's one shot, one hit, and I didn't kill him. Well, maybe not. I don't know, and I don't care. But that random shot in the middle of a larger exchange, if everybody went out and did that, a monkey poke shot, just especially in an urban warfare environment, it's just everybody, one shot. I don't want you to stay here. I just want you to walk up, pick one of the bad guys, put a bullet in him, leave. You've helped. Thank you. Come back next week. I'd appreciate it. There's 52 weeks in the year. That's 52 targets times however many millions of people who could just monkey poke shoot if they wanted to. And that sounds weird, but it's not. This is one of the things about having millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans. We got 300 million people in this country. We got a whole lot of people. Now, the other side's already figured out, and they're planning on doing this. This is like people I've had conversations with today, and I'm going to point this out again. Well, there's more of us. Yeah, but how well organized are you? And this is a fact. I'm listening to this now from people who realize, well, yeah, we really are getting into a fight. Yeah, your enemy are a bunch of goofs. They're purple-haired, Fruit Loop, nutcase, quadriplegic, homosexual Eskimos with pedophilic tendencies. But they still have a trigger finger, and they have an eyeball. And you know what? I've told you before a million times, a fickle finger of fate doesn't care. Once that bullet leaves the barrel, it has a good opportunity of hurting somebody, and that means you. So the other side, with any kind of organization, our side keeps showing up and acts like a damn rabble mob. That's the best they can do when they show up for any of these counter operations. It's everybody's doing the, kind of milling about minimal amount of some organization, and the other side perceives that and takes advantage of it. Now, the same is true with regard to what's going to happen, which, again, as I've said, this war is going to be a lot longer than everybody thinks, number one. Number two is we're not going to be home by Christmas, okay? Unless you're right there home fighting in your backyard. You'll be home for Christmas. Why? Because everybody is grossly underestimating the potential of both tiers of the enemy that you are facing. That's my attitude on what I'm seeing now. It's like, well, I'm watching all this and they're blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, well, the organic sandbags are designed to absorb your ammunition, number one. And number two, the ones that are organizing the organic sandbags have a big army behind them that they plan on using. And if you don't get your act together and get your ass in gear faster, then your ass's grass and lawnmower is going to run through it. It's that simple. Your enemy is in motion. You had better be. They're already burning things on the ground. They're already murdering people in the street. Well, we're going to do something down the road. Then you are going to be behind the curve. You are way behind. You are fumbling the ball. Any other situation, I'm always amazed by this, with preparation, personal protection, every aspect of this, people have been too busy listening to a controlled media that is your enemy. And they're not reporting half of what's going on. Your enemy has improvised and used all kinds of technologies to actually accomplish their end goals, or I should say this particular part of their end goals, to take them to the next tier. What have you done? Watch television programs telling you about the attacks, or watching social media and finding out about the attacks. Physically, and again, I'm not telling you, you don't need to go out west. If the people in, for instance, Oregon are not putting bullets in their butts out there, then it's their problem. They're burning, and congratulations, they deserve it. If they're not getting their act together, we're waiting for the cops. The cops are saying that the cops get fired if they say anything about Antifa. The feds want Antifa to do what it's doing because the feds will gain more power. So they're sitting on their dead ass and doing nothing. Okay? The only people who are going to get rid of this problem, just like every situation, every tier here, is we're going to have to do it ourselves. But why am I in Michigan going to go to Oregon when there are more people that live in Oregon than there are probably that live in Michigan? I haven't looked at the latest numbers, but they got a big state there. And that means there's a whole lot of dumbass, Dumases who are sitting on their laurels and aren't doing anything because they're playing it safe. They're going to shuck, jive, roll, and hide. And they're all sitting on their, because the war's come out to them now, too, by the way. It's now out in the rural areas that everybody was warned about. So the fighting has gone out into the rural area. How many people are getting rid of the problem? You've got an opportunity now. We're talking wicked, evil creatures, because fire doesn't know any friends any more than small arms fire does when a bullet leaves. Think of all the animals that these people have hurt, damaged. These frothing at the mouth, crazy as the day is long, Fruit Loop, queer as a $3 bill, pedophilic tendency, monsters. These leftists, they don't care about they're talking about the environment. The environment, and they're lighting it up, and God knows what they've killed. Just in the reptile and amphibian category alone, God knows. They're the naturally occurring populations that probably are even quite well recovered, and usually do recover once people don't have a clue about getting out in the countryside. Those fires, the flames that they're setting, and the massive, again, wave attacks like this, These cause massive herd damage in each category of the animal world. If it was a random fire here and naturally random fire there, people, which is what would normally occur, you would have damage to the population group, but the population group could move to another area or would be less affected because while certain populations of even a unique sub-branch of a species might be destroyed, the others would compensate having survived and being able to benefit from something else not consuming their food base. But now we're looking at an unnatural attack in which, especially in the avian category and in the reptiles and amphibians, they have killed off God knows how many animals. In a situation where all of these lames, idiots, incompetents, and fools who are as dumb as a stinking box of rocks with a shoe-size IQ, they have no idea. The only thing that's going to settle this problem with them is putting a bullet in their ass. I mean, finishing them off and getting rid of them, because these nimrods, these idiots, these incompetents, these fools, these stupid people are going to just continue to, press and press and press. More people are going to be hurt. More is going to be damaged. See, I understand war. I am a hawk. Don't you make any mistake about this. I am a hawk. I'm not fighting for the New World Order clique. I'm not going to fight for this Fed because I know this Fed just wants to steal something for the Israelis. They want a bigger police state, so we know that they're screwing us, and they plan on screwing us. They're going to continue to screw us. And you can't side with them. In the same breath, we know that they're running the other bunch that are doing all of these wicked deeds right now, because otherwise they've been squashed like a bug. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Create the problem, demonstrate the problem, and come up with a solution people otherwise would not accept. The Hegelian dialectic. Step back and grab that cup of coffee and sit down from a distance and start looking at all this, and there's no way. They're intentionally letting it happen, and that's why if a police officer or sheriff's deputy is speaking up about the Antifa threat, then they're putting their butt down hard. That way they'll cow the rest of them down so they don't have a job either. In a situation where, I understand what they're terrified of, because this economy is in the toilet. It's finished. It really is technically finished. It could be saved, but they aren't going to save it. They're not going to. They want to hurt us, you and me, us. And when you listen to these mouthy POSs that are flapping their yap, we're going to have a mandatory federal mask law, you will be shot. You will be, actually probably not shot, because I would be very quiet. That way I could get more of them. So it would be, oh, wow, look at that arrow on his chest. Or, wow, club him like a baby seal. Whatever it is you got to do for a first shot, just to make sure you put him down hard and fast and then keep doing it. This is, the level of stupidity, it cannot be borne. We can't go along with this. We cannot let the neurotic hypochondriacs with, paranoid tendencies and, pro-police state mentalities with delusions of, being a Fed wannabe, Fruit Loop. We can't have this. We're going to have to stop it. This is East Germany. This is Romania. It's in fact, most all of our Romanian friends are getting very quiet and they're fuming. You want to know why? Because those who lived in Romania under Ceausescu see this as exactly the same game. They're going quiet because they're getting ready to hunt. Why? Because they know there's no place to run. They're going to have to fight for their freedom, and they've already had to deal with this before, and they're not going to let it happen again. Some of the best people you have standing next to you are these Romanian patriots, from the end of the Cold War era, who grew up in this and in one way or another got away from it before, some of them defectors. They're going quiet because all they're doing is sharpening knives and loading ammunition because they just figure it's done. Pay attention. There's a lot of people that lived under this, okay? They've seen it. They know exactly what this is. We're not ignorant. We're not getting caught flat-footed. And we understand that it's the government you got to watch. They do, too. They'll tell you the same thing. No, this is all being played by Washington and by Haifa and Tel Aviv and Brussels. Those are the characters, and the Chinese are in bed with them. And, of course, when they kick this off, it's going to continue to escalate very, very dramatically. You are the target of all of them. Because this is another term that I'm going to teach you again. It's called a corretment. Do you know what a corretment is? they're going to try to kill off the stock, us peasants. The same thing that the British Crown was talking about once they got their thing going. That's what the King of England was planning. That's what George was planning, was a curretment in America. The idea was, initially, he thought that the American War for Independence was cool, and he wanted to get going so he had an excuse to exterminate Americans. By doing so, they could then exterminate the existing stock. You're considered livestock. And that a curretment is where you kill off everybody, men, women, children, exterminate everything having to do with that population group, and then you drop somebody else in. And you can see the writing on the wall with the game they're playing right now. So kill all the white people, kill all the white people, kill all the white people. This is an attempted curretment. For that reason, we need to get rid of them exactly the way they think they're going to get rid of us. You see how that works? That means you better be ready to fight. Prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. If you want to be in charge, by God, you better become a master. And if you are going to be in charge, you're involved in the competition for life. This is the competition for the whole game. It's not the end of the world. It's just part of the timeline as it carries on. It is not a situation where, I can sit on my ass because, it's all the end. And blah. Well, if that's the case, and any of you truly believe that, I want your stuff. That's the only thing I'm going to repeat many, many, many times. I want your stuff. You really believe that? I've had people do this. This has been the cop-out. One of the most sickening cop-outs I am most disgusted with is, not having faith. No, I believe it. No, you want to sit on your dead ass and do nothing. Everybody wants to sit on their dead ass and do nothing, no matter what. And whatever cop-out or excuse they can use, which, by the way, some of them are destroyed by the very things that we're watching. Also, Antifa's with the enemy. Yeah. And they're doing all these things. Yeah. Well, the police state obviously is failing, right? Well, the police state is... Okay, well, what happened when they can see everything? Exactly like I've said at the beginning of the hour here. You see everything, know everything, I would feel to resist. So how is this happening? Well, okay, well then obviously the government's not all that really much in control, and most of what they're saying is probably a lie, which a lot of it is. It's designed to, bravura and bravado will get them go a long ways. Does it mean that they can't do a whole lot of harm to us? Oh, hell yes, they plan on mass murdering. So before you get stuck in that loop and decide to go chew your toenails off, I'm going to remind you, you're going to have to fight. It's just that simple. Slave or free, which will you be? And slave, because remember, they really plan on putting you in a ditch. They plan on getting rid of you. It's that simple. They're just trying to figure out, like that old Wicked Witch of the West. They turn the hourglass over. Yes, my pretty, I'll figure out how to do this. And it's like, yeah, but I've already figured out how to do you. So, another thing here real quick. Again, with regard to drones, everybody is asking about that. I know a lot of people have played with them. We've had our close associates and friends and family have actually been playing with a lot of them, working with them, see what they'll do. The little ones, we remember, guys, like I've said a million times, and they already found this out with R&D, with out at Hunter Liggett, a number of other locations all over the place where the research was done. Tiny sounds really cool, and it's so evasive, this and that, but the moment you have any kind of winds or any kind of dynamic weather, if you don't have girth and weight, you don't make it. So for all weather, let's think of it this way. We had what we call, interceptors, but we had all weather interceptors also. And they were a separate category. The Scorpion, years ago, was probably the best example of that. It was considered, although it had toothing problems, left, right, up and down, it still went into service, and it was an inclement weather, all-weather nuclear fighter. Anybody do the research? It was an all-weather, all-conditions, day-night fighter. That is how you have to rate all of your drones that are out there by performance and weight and thrust capacity. All of these things are part of the formula. You're going to have to do research. If you get something lighter, then don't be surprised when you have problems under certain conditions. The other thing is always remember limitations, especially with regard to power, because power is range. I want to mention that too. spare batteries right off the bat. Invest in spare batteries for everything. If you're thinking about using these as weapon systems, especially, when we say weapon systems, is not necessarily delivering ordnance, but at the very least as an intelligence collection technology, then as part of an integrated weapons and collection system, you need spare everything. Receiver, all of your technology to continue to use, because you got to be able to set one down, pick another one up. Backups to backups, redundancy. That's most important. And remember, understand the limits of range based on power. That's where you have to really be paying attention, because if you become distracted by activity, you can very quickly forget what is your recovery range for operation as opposed to your outbound range for operations. Remember, you may be in standoff and really not that far away, but you have been in an idle or in a patrol mode, and you have only so much energy to move the equipment back to where you can recover what is a valuable piece of equipment. If you've invested money in it, no matter what it is, remember, as this thing develops, the moment that bullets start to fly, you're already limited in what you can access because of what's happened with the corona beer virus scam and all the rest of the drivel and what they're doing to the economy. The moment the bullets start flying, guys, what you have is all you have. And here's what will happen very quickly. You're going to be in sticker shock, much like people who have 9mm pistols are in sticker shock. After all, you were paying 18 cents a round only a couple months ago. And now you're paying 80, 70, 75. I think some people were happy if they got it for 70 cents a round for 9mm, if you can find it. But you're paying more for a 9mm round or as much as you are for a 5.56 round now. Why? Availability. So understand, the moment that wall hits, everything from toilet paper, which everybody kind of laughs about, but you better not, through to batteries, to fuel, to whatever, is now finite and is on a tachometer towards zero. Which is why you better be systematically, putting on the list, fuels, batteries, all the perishables. We've talked about this a million times. With regard to all of your components and assemblies, depending on what you're building or working with, don't forget that some things break more often, and you can already find that out by having used the equipment. Well, once you start to see where you have, obvious frail / frangible, breakable parts, I suggest there are two things you do. Either A, buy a pile of whatever it is that you're probably going to have more issues with down the road, or find out if somebody has already become so frustrated with the idea of what the thing does that they've already developed a second-generation replacement part that is more durable. This happens all the time in any kind of game or toy technology, and especially with RC-type toys in general. Guys, I said this before, if I was going to make one-way, directional control drone weapons, I'm not going to buy the top end, I'd buy the dog parts. Why? Because I don't need it to whizzy-bang around and make left turns and 90-degree turns. I'm just going to long range. I want it to hit and detonate. I want it to go down range 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 miles. I only need it to have a little bit of maneuverability, and it's a fire-and-forget weapon. All I need the maneuverability for is to make sure that when it gets to the other end, it hits the target. So from my perspective, dog parts in the industry are more valuable, but they cost so much less, 10 for one, 20 for one. Well, that's not the best because they have this problem when it does this, this, and this. Well, I'm not going to be doing that, and that. I'm going to be launching it, varying it, using the camera control from the cheapest, digital camera I can mount, and my little drone attack vehicle is going to go beep, 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 boom. See, that's why, again, if it was something that's going one way, then I don't need to worry about that much. But if you are using something like a drone reconnaissance technology or a drone, say, small ordnance delivery system, then it would make a great deal of sense. Now, let me point something else about everybody worrying about getting something to, shoot. What's the average altitude? Well, what altitude can many of the drones achieve? 1,000 feet? 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet for the heavies? Can they get up pretty high. Oh, yeah, to the point where they actually can get up into air traffic areas, which is one of the things they tried to claim was the reason they wanted to restrict and know where everything is. If you're at 1,000 or 2,000 feet, have you ever seen a lazy dog? You know what a lazy dog is? Why don't you see if you go look it up? A lazy dog. It's a lazy dog bomb, but it's not really a bomb because it's not very big. And you know what? If you had a gripper system on a drone and you used it at night going over, say, an area where the Antifa were, and they were rioting and whatever, and it's pitch black, and you have a drone at 3,000 feet, and you have a gravity 0.0 drop indicator, you hover, you have a little series of clutch systems, you tap, and the clutch releases like a set of picker hands, and a little steel dart is released, and gravity sucks. The rest is history. Oh, go look up lazy dogs. Why does it have to go boom in order for it to do its job? It doesn't need to go boom. The government made billions of lazy dogs. Billions. Another little story of World War II they don't talk much about, by the way. They use them in Korea, too. You just don't hear about it because it's one of those low-techs that anybody can build and anybody could employ. You don't have to have a machine gun in order to strafe an area from any aircraft. Hint, hint, hint. Go look up lazy dogs. Anyway, we're going to be back in a few minutes here. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
Yet we are on the march both day and night.
Hoorah. Kick them in the slats, beat them down hard, don't let them get back up, and when they try, nail their hind end to the ground, find out who sent them, and then go find those characters, too. Work right up the feeding chain until we get rid of them all. We'll be back here in a few minutes. Second hour of the Intel Report coming up. It is Monday on Libertytreeradio.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MainMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MainMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MainMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear, be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. Pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kernke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines, in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on LibertyTreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultranet Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, which includes the great state of Jefferson, along with the lower 48, CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock. It is 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Monday. It is the 14th of September. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, the Dance of Swords, battle for the Republic. Congratulations, you're living history. Get used to it. That's where we are. Anyway, a couple things going on here real quick. This is, let's see.
Well, me, anyways, because I'm not technologically savvy. My name's Dr. Cordy Williams.
Protest, but I'm trying to confirm if this is Cordy Lee Williams, TC, was live with Abba Quero. Let's see. I'm seeing palm trees. It's either California, as in Sacramento, or it is Arizona, which 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Again, I guess what I'm going to do hold on here. This is for Corey and also Ron. Appreciate you sending this. It's kind of last minute. I'm just going to play this, but the question is, it's either, and again, give me a confirmation on this. This is happening today as we speak, but it's one of the protests for the the state being shut down. I know California, of course, they did the communist thing, and it has to do with the church closings. Open the churches back up. No, you can open Walmart back up. Very important to Walmart, but not your churches. Christianity must be attacked in the eye of the communist, and they always shut down. In a communist takeover, the churches are always targeted heavily. That happened in Romania, that happened in East Germany, that happened in China, it happened in Russia on a massive scale, and it's what they're trying to do with America with a K. So people are pushing back, but there's a bunch of stuff that just happened. This is 4 minutes and 32 seconds long. Apparently they put riot police out there. They had a scheduled event. They decided, apparently they pulled the permits at the last minute. Not everybody was informed. Nobody was informed as far as people who were going to attend. And while the police state that they will not, which is going to be in the body of this, the police will not arrest. So the Capitol Police were grabbing people and holding them in the basement, and they've grabbed children on top of everything else. So, again, not a surprise. This is what the communists do. This is part of why we're headed into an American war for independence. This is not a civil war. This is a war for independence against the globalists who are in the Republican, the Democrat parties. They're both traitorous, / Moloch, Baal worshippers, Cthulhuists. They're Kabbalists of the dark arts. We all know that. We know what they are. We know all the different lists for all the different creatures. And they're showing their colors because they've been told, make the move, froth at the mouth, bark at everybody like an insane, crazy person, and supposedly we'll be so stunned we're just going to step back. Well, this is America, and we have a very different attitude about how to deal with that rabid dog that thinks it's going to do whatever it's going to do. This is the fight you've been waiting for. And that diversion you are trying to ignore is the attack you have been expecting. Now, Ed couldn't pull this up. Yeah, he wouldn't be able to. So I'm going to play this from this end, and let's be patient. I think it'll be clear enough. You should be able to hear it. And again, Cordy and also, let's see, Ron, and I think I've got another copy coming in from somebody else even as I speak. So this is self-explanatory as far as the action goes. You'll be able to hear what's going on. It's being described as it just took place or as it's developing. And it was live feed here until just a few minutes ago, but what I understand. So here we go. Let's see what we can do to get this out.
Well, me anyways, because I'm not technologically savvy. My name's Dr. Cordy Williams, and we're doing some lives. We're in front of the Capitol where there is riot police. They just arrested Pastor Tim. They arrested the Freedom Angels, arrested like 13 people.
And the kids.
They took kids, they billy clubbed people. Guys, this is like disgusting. I mean, like I'm just mortified at the constitutional infringement. And before I got on this live, I had to say I was very unchristian, I'll just put it that way. I probably said like 5,000 F-bombs because I can't believe, I'm embarrassed to be an American right now. This is like embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see what they're doing. There's riot police, CH try to come up. There's snipers on the rooftop. We're gonna walk forward, guys, so you can try to see this. I'm sure Facebook is gonna ban this. So see what you can do to get it out there right now, okay?
Put it on other platforms.
But, yeah, I mean, get it on other platforms, save it to your computer, whatever. But it is sickening. There is a line of probably 100 riot gear. They were in SWAT team stuff, and they just arrested a pastor. So I'm just going to let you guys see what's happening, because I know Mark Zuckerberg is sitting at home eating some Doritos, and him and Bill Gates are having a good conversation right now, I'm sure. But we need President Trump and Attorney General Barr to see this. So here you guys go. Literally, I've never seen it. Looks like China, guys. It looks like China. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Like, this is the most unpatriotic, disgusting infringement of freedom I've ever seen. And they pulled the permits, a draconian move. They pulled the permits, and in pulling the permits, what they did was, now their stand is not that we're violating an order, after arresting 13 people, right? But what they're saying is that because they pulled the permits, we don't have a permit to exercise our constitutional rights. So please share this, guys. I'm just blown away. A former Marine, 4 years in the Marine Corps. I'm embarrassed by this. It makes me want to cry, and it makes me want to fight somebody and beat the crap out of them at the same time. So post this. We got to get this out to Attorney General Barr. Okay. We got to get this out to Donald Trump. I was on the mic for probably an hour and a half, but this is disgusting, guys. So if you're not involved yet, or your state's not involved, you need to get involved. Because if they can do this to us over, pardon me for saying, a bullshit virus, okay? And I don't mean that to anybody who had a family member die, but it still hasn't reached the influenza flu level of last year, okay? And we're backing away because they're getting closer to us, all right? The Sacramento PD has said that they won't arrest anybody, so they're holding people in the bottom of the basement of the Capitol right now, okay? So the Freedom Angels got out. But literally, they took a pastor of a big church in Marietta, California, or Murrieta, I can never pronounce it correctly. And literally, they took him. This guy's 6'2", he's a big guy, his name's Pastor Tim. And they threw him to the ground like a piece of trash. And all he was doing is standing there. I watched the whole thing happen myself. So if you're a veteran, you need to stand up. The other thing I tell you to do for your family, grab your Glock, or grab your 1911, or grab your 45, okay? Because this is BS, man. And pastors, you need to open up the churches, all right? And some of us are just going to have to get arrested and whatever happens, we got to stand up because this is a huge infringement. I love you guys. We're going to do another video as well. Because I know Mark's sitting by eating Doritos and he's probably going to delete this. God bless you guys. Love you.
All right, that's the whole video. I might play it again and obviously they answered my question because we just got this through. Sacramento, California. The Sacramento Police Department refused to arrest any individuals after especially the skunk work garbage they've had with Antifa, and just had, of course, a couple of the county cops from, Los Angeles County, got popped here the other day, obviously just a walk-up, assassination routine. So it would be the Capitol Police and the California Highway Patrol cooperating or intercooperating, and that's who grabbed some of the people and beat down some of the protesters. And that's, of course, where they grabbed the one minister that they just mentioned. So, again, I don't have a reference to that other than we have it on the archive. Like they said, it may be pulled anytime. They're putting it out, asked to be, wherever it can be recopied in another form. That way it's, going to be, available somewhere. If you get a chance. And again, this is Sacramento, California. Good number of people showed up, good quantity. The big thing is, again, the barking dog routine. Now, would they do that with Antifa? Nope. If Antifa were on the front porch of the Capitol building, they'd love it. They'd be out there getting down on one knee, crawling on a belly, licking their boots, licking their butt, licking their bunghole. Oh, yeah, liquid toilet paper. But these are taxpayers / Americans / Christians / enemies of the state of the the communist enemies of the communists. So they are viciously being viciously attacked. That should be expected. This is the nature of the war that you're fighting. The war's already here. It's not kind of sort of. It's just this. If you look historically at what happened before the American War for Independence, it's the same routine. And by the way, also the same, plug-in from the other side. They're trying to plug in Russia's Red Terror, or a combination of the original communist Chinese takeover post-World War II and the Cultural Revolution of the 60s, which, by the way, was a second wave of slaughter by the Soviets of China, okay? And it was massive. And it was, again, they were going the next step. They got everybody set up for the deal. And then, obviously, who could resist, because all of the politically correct and social justice warrior scam garbage that, like you see now, was being pulled then. We all have a job to do. You are all going to have to make a choice, slave or free, which will you be? This is going to just continue to escalate, but this is one of many, many, many battlefronts. Now, the guy's got the right idea, but guys, we can't be showing up as just a mob. You've got to be better organized. Somebody has to step up as a real straw boss. No, we don't need any fleet admirals or grand admiral BS or any nonsense like that. What we need is management where we are going to effectively, when we deploy ready to fight, to defend ourselves, which means that you have to work in teams. If you did nothing but quickly organize everybody into 3-man fire teams like the old beginning of World War II Marine squad, where 3 men work together, and again, you could subdivide it based upon the weapons or the armor or the equipment available at the moment for people defending the group. But you've got to work with a buddy system. You have to work as a team. And then you have to have some form of coordination for both action and then understanding extraction. The most common mistake made, like what we saw, this happened in Seattle, it also happened in Portland with the pro-patriot people stepping up and getting in the face of the communists. The problem is they had no extraction plan. And you have to have a withdrawal plan in which you don't just walk back as a mob and then people ride up and beat on the back of someone's head, and then you got to have 2 people carry somebody back because they got their head caved in. This is why, again, prior proper planning prevents poor performance, but you got to have a management mechanism going in. Even if you snag and tag whoever's there, you rally them. This is why you have sergeants. This is why you have junior officers. This is why you have to have 1 or 2 or 3 mines or a war council, that when you are in the field, who are you with? Schmidlap Group, about 200 people. Who are you with? Billy Bob Group, we have 100 people. Who are you with? I'm with Al's group. We got 40 people. Okay, congratulations. They're your incremental. Those are the components you're working with. Now, how can you best make them, integrate them and make them work together? They don't have to change the way that they operate within their specific groups. The first rule of speed management is not trying to force someone to make your system work. Instead, you make their system work. Have you guys work together? Yes or no? Well, we've trained blah, blah, blah. Okay, to what degree, God knows. But you're at least a group. Congratulations. You don't break that group up. You use that group as it is. Do you have any management mechanism? Do you have NCOs? Do you have squad leaders, fire team leaders, anything like that? Well, yeah. Well, have you got people who are leaders? Okay, well, congratulations. We're going to do a quick divide up there. Get your people organized real quick, form them up. The 40-man group. What have you guys been doing? Well, we're militia. We've been doing that for a long time. I got some older guys, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you have a kind of an idea. You get a fire team set up, squads capable. Are you able to break down as a platoon, into a squad, individual squads? Yeah, we can do that. Okay, very good. You're the core. You're the center. Congratulations. You're the Praetorian Guard. You're in the middle. You're the linchpin pivot. And, Billy Bob's group is, well, we all showed up because we wanted to go tell them what we thought. Well, congratulations, you're going to do that, but before you do, we're going to make sure that you don't become a liability. You have to be moving fast, but everybody, it needs to, you can't micromanage you from the core, the group, and each group is going to have to work based upon their level of expertise. But you can tweak them and tune them up. Okay, how do you guys got this set up? How many people have armor? How many people have helmets? How many people have weapons? Okay, guess what? People with helmets and armor to the front, people without to the rear. Now, some of them thought they were going to come to the tailgate picnic and get out there in front, like what we saw would happen in Portland. These characters dressed up. They even had little goofy outfits on, because they thought it was going to be cute, like, painting up for a football game. Then they got up front. Somebody caved their head in with a skateboard. Now they're coming back to the rear. They didn't have a helmet on. They didn't have any body armor. They didn't have any weapon. They thought it was going to be some kind of fair fight. The other side doesn't play fair because they're fighting a war, and you better learn not to play fair because you're fighting a war. So they got two people that have to guide back a guy with a gack in his head across his forehead and from the temple across on an angle. And he's bleeding all over himself and looks really horrible, and he's dazed. Well, you just lost 3 warriors there. You didn't lose 1. You lost 3. Why? Well, because 2 people thought they absolutely had to be used to, move a guy back. Sometimes you'll have 4 or 5 people that want to help that one guy, because that way they're not up front where all the fighting is. You ever notice that? One guy doesn't need 5 people helping him along. Pay attention to some of this. It'll tell you something about the lack of grit or nerve of the people you're working with. Who's in charge here? You. You're with him. You. Back up front. Who's together? Are 2 of you together here? Any 2 of you together? You and you? Oh, good. You 2, take him to the rear. You 3, back up front. Well, we're medics. Good. Then you could be a medic for the other people who are getting their head bashed in that you haven't found yet. We only need 2 people to get his sorry hind end to the rear, and if he falls here now, don't worry. There's lots of people in the second echelon that can move him. Pay attention to how people will try to find an excuse after they got there to figure out how to slide sideways. And again, Sarge, or again, officer in charge, whatever the hell you want to give yourself for a fleet title, Fleet Admiral, Grand Admiral, Galactic Admiral, well, that's your job. Now, again, buddy system. Now, why did I mention the Marine system? Well, the neat thing is that with a Marine Trident system, the 3-man system, the advantage was that one way or another, everybody's flank is typically covered. 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 center. To the left and the right, everybody can turn and collapse on each other as needed. In other words, if Bob on the right gets attacked, the other 2 can shift and then help to envelop whoever is trying to put Bob down. And it becomes an ongoing dance of swords as you move, and you always make it unfair. 3 on 1, 3 on 1, 3 on 1. You never fight fair. The enemy plans on ganging up on you 5, 6, 10, 20 to 1. First rule, you keep attriting the enemy. If you're in a field in a situation like that, your job is to, whenever you hit someone, to make sure you hurt them so hard that they're going to want to be the ones being escorted by 2 people to the rear. You bend a knee backwards, you bend an elbow backwards, you make sure that they're so hurt that they're no longer in the fight. It's basically, again, if somebody's coming at you, they're coming at you with skateboards, knives, guns. Of course, now it'd be a good idea to be equally armed, but battle axes and broadswords, congratulations. If you're actually going out there, what stops them is better organization to begin with, and then they don't think it'd really be a good idea to step up and be the next casualty. Consider that. If you make an enemy so horrifically damaged that all the rest get to hear about it, then they're not too motivated to jump up and be the next one. It's the barking dog syndrome in reverse, where you do it to them instead of them thinking they were going to do it to you. The cops, the police state, the globalists are planning the same thing. There is no difference between Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the Kill All the White People crew and the other group that are in government who all operate the exact same way and hate you in the exact same way. They don't have any love for you. They only have one mission, power. And their interest is power and profit. So stealing from you, you have something. Most of the punks with Antifa, they don't make any money on them. They make money on you, though, because they figure you work your ass off for whatever it is that you own, and I got to work the system, I got to pay them, I got to spend money and buy a lawyer, I got to do it. Well, you see, that day is coming to an end. It's like I said earlier, when this thing kicks off, everything you got, what you got is all you got, and whatever it is that's out there, whatever digits you have, you're going to find out it's going to take a lot more digits to buy whatever you thought you were going to pick up at the last minute after the fact. In the transition phase, some people won't have a clue about how bad things are getting, and whoever's fastest, firstest will get whatever's off the shelf, and that's it. And then after, and I'm not talking ammunition, I'm talking everything. Do you think, let me repeat something here that we've already seen happen. Try and buy tires right now. Have you tried to buy tires recently? Do you know what's going on with tires out there? You know that sometimes you're waiting up to 3 weeks now for tires. Oh, this is America, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, stuff that, Clowney. Guess what? Depending on what it is you're looking for, there aren't any. They're having to wait for them to come from the factory. So guess what? And this varies, but it comes down to what we have talked many times about on the air here, that what we have are a series of products that were already reduced, dropped down in terms of availability with the Corona beer virus scam. Now let's add something to the math formula here. Why is somebody going to send us something if we don't have the money to pay for it? And once everything got overseas, it's bad enough if it was in the United States, it'd still be bad enough. But at least the product would be here and you could save up and then you might actually have it here. But if we get into either the government locking everything down with the police state scam like they've done already, then whatever was short now will cease to exist very quickly. Not just be more expensive, it just won't be there. Okay? Caller, jump in there. Who do we have?
That's Darzek. A lot of it started with that whole on-time delivery scam.
Yep. That primed everything. You're right.
Works really well in Japan because it's a tiny island and you can go from one end of the island in a couple hours.
Yeah, when you have a factory down the street and Bob, Pao Chu Chung needs, or Kichitsu Tsumadagaita needs, 6 cases, I get you and you get 5 more guys and we grab the boxes and we go down 2 blocks and deliver. But when you're talking about the United States and you have a country that's spread out, take the map of Japan and take a look at the United States, guys.
Trans-Pacific delivery too.
Yeah, the on time delivery crap just doesn't work. Well, it will be a fiction that will be perpetrated, but for a very different reason, and it has nothing to do with efficiency, which is what we're seeing now. The big thing here again is the inventories are already down. I'll tell you what, go to Big Lots, go to any of these places, and like I said before, look at the shelves. If this country were as wealthy as it used to be, the shelves would be solid packed front to back, and you wouldn't be facing them with a one box of something, and the rest is airspace behind it. Guys, I used to be a stocker. A stock shelf was a front to back, bottom to top, better be full. Well, if you don't have the product to put on the shelf or you can't afford it, you're not going to be doing that, which means you have the shelving system of a thriving American economy, but you have the supply system of a third-rate nation. See the problem? Which is why, well, here's the thing. All the containers have shrunk down because of devaluation, but the shelves the containers go on haven't shrunk down. And that's why it'll become even more obvious because A, the package has gotten smaller, and B, there isn't as much product available, or even if it is, they only want to invest so much in terms of capital based upon the artificial intelligence's process of control, as in the computers are telling them how to run their business. And the bean counters, too, of course, we know that. So across the board, again, ammunition, you're already seeing this. As soon as I said I'm talking about ammunition when we discuss this, and it's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Also, this wall that we've hit is because of what happened 6 months ago in the entire logistics train. And like I said, whatever was in front of you, you weren't going to see it right away. There was still toilet paper. There's still piles of this. There was still a bunch of that. But now, especially in what are the second-tier refined products that are considered part of, do you know what your wealth index is? Okay, the first thing, the biggest purchase that a family will make is a house. The second is a car, truck, or whatever. Take your pick, a vehicle. What's the rest of that index? Well, that wealth index with regard to durable goods. Okay, and then there's the semi-durable / the rest of and then of course there's perishables. So let's understand the pecking order here. Every element of the system is already down, is set for a fall, set for an intentional collapse based upon them creating a crisis. Whoever is looking at that properly, not through rose-colored glasses, we're not going to panic. We're just going to be better at it so we can produce what we need. Even when we talk about producing, guys, have you been putting jars, bottles of other kinds away? Because mason jars don't exist. Mason jar lids don't exist. I just happened to hit a house this weekend where we went over, and lo and behold, they were clearing out the house, and look at what was there by the box. Brand new, about 15, maybe 20-year-old mason jar rings and lids. Now, there was a bunch of other stuff. I actually got another part of a machine shop this weekend for free. I mean, tools. I haven't even counted everything yet. I don't even know what I've got yet. And this is like the 7th, 8th, or 9th time where I've done this. And it's like over and over again, it's building up our perishables, especially in everything from sandpaper to rasps, files, drill bits, taps, dies, cutting tools, cutters, for lathes, every kind of tool you can imagine. Up and down condition-wise. Some of it immaculate, some of it, we got to save it right now, we got to clean it up, and we got to make sure it stays lubricated. But guess what? It'll do the job, get the job done right. If I'm doing this, all you can be doing the same thing. You just need to make the effort. Now, some places are richer than others, but I've found this be all over the map on the country here where I am. I don't think it's any different anywhere else right now. People don't put a value on anything where work is involved. If it looks like a tool, it means work. Our lazy-ass population generated by the public fool system is terrified of work.
Mark?
Go ahead, caller. Jump in there.
Yeah, it's Thursday. I used to go to a regular auction, and the gentleman there, he's about 20 years older than me. One of the things he would always say when he got around to auctioning off the tools, you can't get anybody to pay anything that is going to make them work. They would sell those hand tools for $1 or $2 a piece. I mean, brand new iron rakes and mattocks and pickaxes and shovels, and I mean, you get people buying snow shovels because they couldn't get away from that. But everything else that had to do with garden work and everything, gone. Another thing, I was in Horrible Freight the other day, and I'm like, well, you know how my hands are. I got to keep them clean, and I wear those nitrile gloves all the time. So I went up there to restock. The price on nitrile gloves is now twice what it was before, and they had half as many types on the shelf. They went from $6 and change a box of 100 to $14 a box for a box of 100. And it's been the cheapest place to get gloves.
And again, the problem is that, of course, now if you listen to old, Brain Dead, and you know how much I listen to any of these politicians anymore, guys. I mean, I'll watch it, but it's like, blah, 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 lie, 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 lie. Except they weren't lying. They had to probably retake that video that he did. There's a release, it was on the national news, where he's talking about the agenda, and they're going to have mandatory face masks and mandatory testing, and you will submit, blah, 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 blah. Well, by the way, Trump's already yapped the same way, so they're both our enemies. They're both planning the same thing. But Biden is bragging about it. Trump didn't do that. We're gonna do this, and it's like, well, then you'll end up dead. I mean, whoever tries it will end up being, 6 feet under if anybody bothers to dig a hole and bury him that deep. But fact of the matter is that the supply chain, is already broken, and so with all the mandatory, they're still not going to maintain any of what we've talked about a million times here, which is PPE standards. Every time you see one of these idiot sticks walk out of a store with a blue mask on, that should be in the trash. You'll notice that's not happening. Do you realize what that burden alone would do to the supply system if somebody said, oh, by the way, you're going to enforce this, right? Well, let's go to OSHA. What are the standards for using this particular PPE device based upon the industry? Oh, it's a disposable one-time use, isn't it? And you guys got a case of those in the back of your truck or your car? Got a box of them ready to go? Now imagine if you see this, and you know why I bring this up is you have a massive self-serving, multi-tiered, filthy bureaucracy, okay? They're communists. They're all stinking communists. The communists in the Department of Education, they're communists in the Department of Housing, and the communists, are rife, like in OSHA. They're going to tell you what to do with your life. Okay. And so these are standards that we must maintain, right? Absolutely. These are standards you must maintain. Okay, comrade worker, who's going to provide us with all of the extra face masks because we need to throw these away? Hey, comrade worker, what about the disposable, for instance, gloves? Where's the supply source going to be, and when are you going to provide them? You're going to make them mandatory, but we have to somehow pull them out of our arse. Now, here's the thing. This is something that Solzhenitsyn talked about. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, guy who wrote the Gulag Archipelago, The First Circle, all kinds of informative database on real communism and how it worked, because he lived it, and he lived in the gulags. He survived them. There's a discussion about the whole idea, the book. He had a book when he was arrested, and they had him in Lubyanka. And, of course, the commissar is the one who wanted the book. It was a book of poetry. It was inappropriate. It was considered, what would you say? It was criminal to own. Okay, but of course the commissars wanted it, and it was officially made evil by the regime. But the commissar wanted to take it from him and confiscate it, and he said, "You can't do that." And why? What are you citing? And he goes, I'm citing Communist Party policy and your own policy for the camps. He goes, I'm authorized to have one book. I can have one book. But this book is banned. He goes, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't say anything about being a banned book or not. It says here I can have one book. And he didn't argue Bible. He said, because you couldn't have a Bible. Bibles were completely illegal, and you'd be killed for executed. They were executed for having one, right? But you could have any book. In other words, think about this. It's kind of like a shallow, whole, whole echoey version of the American system. You can't have anything else, but they can't take your Bible from you. Well, you could have any book. Well, they tortured him. They food depredation, light depredation, light torture. They did everything. They beat on him. They did everything they could because he wanted him to acquiesce, to surrender the book to the commissar, and it was purely self-serving that the commissar was doing this. Self-serving for the commissar. Oh, it's for the party, comrade. No, it wasn't. In the end, he kept repeating his demand, and he also filed an appeal, which, by the way, they burned a couple of times, but he finally got it snuck outside, apparently got shuffled in with other papers. But anyway, while he wasn't going to stop him from going to the Gulag. In fact, in the very end, the commissar is talking to him. He goes, "Why are you wanting this book? You know that if you go to the Gulag, this book will be destroyed. It will be gone forever." Because it was a collector's item, guys. And he goes, "It's my book. Your rules say, your rules, not my rules. Your rules say that I have to follow this law, that I have to follow your orders, that I have to do this and that. Well, guess what? There are orders and there are rules, and these are established by you. And you have to follow these rules the same as I do, comrade." And so while they were still sending him off to the gulags, he was going possibly to his death. And that's what the commissar implied. He goes, well, for what you're being punished for, comrade, you're probably not going to be coming back. And that means this is going to go up and be used for toilet paper. This will be destroyed. Why not just let me have it? Well, you know why I'm not going to let you have it, dumbass? Because you want it. That's why. And there are rules, and these rules were established by all the Fruit Loops and the nutcases and the asshats that are in your camp, not mine. But you know what? These are the rules, and that book is mine. And I will do anything I can because I ain't got nothing else to lose. And that was his whole point, is that every step of the way, he took beatings, he took torture. They did everything they could to him. They deprived him of food for days on end. And then they kept bringing him back in. Well, you want to give it? No, I'm not going to give it. Okay, well, we'll show you. Well, they couldn't kill him right away, although they just likely would have if they could have. And La Bianca, they murdered people left and right. God knows how many million people died in the basement of La Bianca in the Z corridor. In La Bianca, there was a corridor. It was white tile. It was a dead-end corridor. It went down about 30 yards, then it went to the right, and then it went down again. In the floor, there were drain holes, and there were water points. You didn't see most of them in the first part of the corridor were, it was just the tile and the drain plugs, the drain holes. Down around the corner, there was a side chamber that basically was where they would dump your body after what they would do is let you walk down the corridor. And as you walked and turned, again, at some point, somebody would come up behind you and put a bullet in your head and drop you right there. And you bleed out. But don't worry, they had a hose around the corner, and they'd hose down the white tile, drop it into the drain, drag your corpse around to the processing room, and then ship you out to the mass graves. They did this over and over and over and over and over and over, and he lived there.
Mark?
So the book, he kept the book. He took all that suffering. Why? Because that stinking communist did, he wanted it now. I know you want to say something. Give me finish. Why would I bring this story up? All these rat bastards, all these bureaucrats, and all these worthless turds and excrement and pieces of filth, they have all these rules they have piled up. Well, if you want me to wear one of those masks, you better, where's the mask you're going to provide? Where are the gloves you're going to provide? And by the way, I know that's what they're playing. Well, you're going to submit to it. No, I won't anyway. But you know what? All of these requirements for disposal, where are the disposal boxes that need to be everywhere, comrade workers? You're wearing a piece of trash. It's all full of bacteria, phlegm, and debris and excrement, and you put it in your pocket and you put it back on. You're telling me you're doing something right? See my problem with this? And we got a bureaucracy. Just OSHA by itself. Just go to OSHA. We have had such a to-do with a massive bureaucracy with just OSHA by itself on this very subject that it has cost us billions of dollars. But all of a sudden, like all the rest of this BS trash with this garbage we're seeing, they throw it all out the window and forget it. Their brains get shut off. Conveniently because, they're the bureaucracy and they can do anything. No, all of these rules are still established and still in place, both usage and disposal, and it was written in stone, people. You don't have an option if you're going to employ the technology and demand it. See, but that's how communism, arbitrary and capricious, when it really gets bad, there really aren't any rules, which is why, like I said, I don't have any problem shooting the bastards. It's totally arbitrary and capricious. There are no rules anymore. It's gone. This country, in that respect, there are no rules. It's like the election. There is no election coming up. There is a fiction. The word is attached to it, but it is totally irrelevant, and it is not, in any way, shape, or form, doesn't even have the ghost image like we've seen for the last several elections of trying to fake you with something. The election doesn't exist. It is non-existent. It is all a farce. They are laughing their ass off. Go ahead, caller. I know I jumped past the subject. Please, go ahead.
That's okay. The most recent one, let's go to. There are rules, Mark. There's plenty of law. Well, there's plenty of administrative regulation and rules and all that. It's just the enforcement that's selective. They decide when they're going to enforce the things that they've written down, the myriads and volumes of things that they put down.
Exactly. Well, that's again.
It's not that there are no rules. The rules are there. Yeah. It's a matter of, are we going to selectively enforce it against this comrade or not? The other thing, Solzhenitsyn, when you mention his books, he wrote a book that for decades was not available in English. And there has been a concerted effort by a group of people. Each of them took turns in translating separate portions of the book. The book is called 200 Years Together. We've mentioned it here before. It's about the international Zionist situation in Russia, how it affected the communist regime there and made it up and made up the communist regime, and their activities and behaviors. The brakes were put on that long ago as far as being translated into English, but it's very difficult to find, but it can be found. I do have a copy. I would recommend anybody find it and read it, because to be forewarned is to be forearmed.
Forgive me, I was trying to make sure I didn't have any noise behind you. Well, and again, there are excerpts that have been printed. I'm pretty sure. Again, remember Solzhenitsyn. For those of you people who don't know who we're talking about, Alexander Solzhenitsyn originally wanted to defect from Russia. They allowed him to leave. Eventually, he was brought over here as a political dissident. He wrote extensively. Almost all his works have been purged from the libraries. I just got a batch of his books that were in the trash from one of the public libraries here that was part of the deleted books. I think it's 15, 16 of his books, all of them pristine collector's items, okay? All of them were part of the banned or purged books from the Ann Arbor public libraries. So I've seen enough of this, but his life he spent here, he tried to warn people about what was going on. Finally, it got so bad. And plus, people long for their home when they're especially close to a time of passing. And he requested to go back, but before he left, he made a final statement about America. And by the way, if you guys, I should read it on the air. It's extensive, though. Russians do not write a letter; they write Bibles. They write epics. They write tomes. They do not write short. Okay, but they're very, 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 very detailed in their discussion. And he explained what was happening. He said, I have seen all of this. I am too old to live this again. This is a disaster that is in the making. It is in motion. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die at home. So he requested to go back to Russia. By that time, the wall had fallen and everything. And he worked on his last two major books, as Darge pointed out, the last one being the most critical. He did have a bunch of other dissertations, other lesser writings that he did that were part of the build-up to the book, the final work that he did. And it all has to do with the debauchery of the kosher mafia against the Christian population, and the wickedness that is the nature of the beast that, again, just keeps refiling and refiling. And again, that's why you're constantly in the fight, why you constantly have to be ready. We're having to deal with it this time around. We know exactly who and what the problem is. Everybody is preparing to deal with that problem. When this kicks off, the organic sandbags are not going to be the target. They can be dealt with. We know that the big wave, the real military and the secret police wave, is what's got to be crushed. And everybody better be ready for that. The Antifa types, they would be the Fruit Loops that would be used. If you do not know the history of the Baltic states, when the communists occupied them before World War II, and then they were taken back by the Germans during World War II, the atrocities and the level of the whole thing was documented very, very well. The survivors that got out of those countries in that particular phase documented and wrote as much as they could, but the Jewish mob and the communists that run the American press and were trying to push us into a war we had no business being in, which they did. None of them would print other than 2 or 3. There were 3 reporters who honestly reported. There were 3 papers that actually printed any of the stories generated by the men who were doing the research, both during the communist. The same formula existed with the communist takeover of Russia and Bolshevism in its Lenin and Trotsky form, then going into Stalin. But later on, the same is true with regard to lying or simply not covering, just like you're seeing in the United States right now with Antifa, which is a communist operation. Please shut up about this. They're Nazis. No, they're not, you idiot. They are communists. Soviet socialists. They brag about being Soviet socialists. They carry the hammer and sickle. But you know what? Because everybody has been so conditioned, the public fool system, to think that the commies are okay, and that's exactly what's happened, that people won't step up and actually use the proper vocabulary and the title that should be attached to the party involved. The characters that are before you. That's what we're fighting. And as long as you're if you're misrepresenting, then you don't have a clue. Your intelligence is askew. That's the problem over and over. And go ahead, caller, jump in there, please.
Yeah, sorry to go off topic a little bit, but it's
okay.
something to put those. It's something to put those mad dogs down. I have a Stealth Arms receiver frame for a 45, and I think we did cut the barrel seat 0.02 of an inch too much. Is that going to be an issue?
0.02 of an inch too much? Oh, I mean, you think it's too close to minimal length?
Well, of what they have for their spec. What happened, the cutter, we had tightened it every time we were using it,
right?
And everything, cutting. And the time that we didn't, because it didn't need adjusting or tightening, the thing loosened up and fell apart. And we didn't know where we were in the.
It disassembled and then broke. The barrel that was being worked broke free.
Well, the cutter broke free, and then we put it back together, and we didn't know right where we were. And my friend, he's a mechanic. He had a micrometer and stuff, and he took it over to work, and he said, "We're 0.02 of an inch off, too much." And I was just wondering, is that going to be an issue for the barrel seat?
Okay, is it at which end are we talking about? Crown, or are we talking about chamber end?
It's the chamber end.
I don't know what we can do to add. You can actually, there's a couple of solutions, but they're crude. Okay, I'd have to ask a few questions of a few other people about that, because I'm trying to think of the math on that one, because that's going to be rather interesting. It depends. Now, the trail. See, that's one thing about this. There's an accommodation of, there's an overspec intentional, so that in the event there are, certain issues with seating and or with pickup, like especially recovery cycle, that there is enough of a tolerance variance, which can be up to 0.03 of an inch, with regard to the individual component interaction. It might not be a problem, but I'd have to double check. I'd have to almost see. Well, when you put it back in, okay, went through, you finished everything. You completed the process, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We just haven't put the parts on it and stuff. It's been a couple of weekends, just things have been going on, and I'm in the process of moving. But we'll get together and try the parts out at least.
You got a no gauge?
No, not on that one.
Okay. That's going to be tough over I'd have to visualize that. I can think about it sitting here with the microphone, but the problem is going to be where in the dimension you're sure it's 0.02. You're sure it's 0.02 of an inch off. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a base cut, or is it? I'm trying to see where you can't do anything the old story. You can paste metal on. You know how to do that. But if it's depending on where it is, it's short. not long. If it was long, you could use spacers. If it's short, I don't know how we could do that. You'll have to experiment. First of all, have you assembled it?
No, we haven't. I had forgotten to bring the parts over and stuff, but, I do have them.
Okay,
they were those from Center Fire Systems, that 399 set.
Yeah. Okay, that helps me right there. Okay, here's a question with regard to, do you have another component? Do you have another part you can lay it to compare? Do you have another?
Yeah.
Okay, and then break out a micrometer, do a spec test back and forth between the two. And the only thing I can say is, again, depending on how that's going to seat, I don't know if that's going to cause chamber. You're either going to have, if it's on the base, you're either going to have a possible base, it'll be, what will happen is you'll have an overpressure base area that can, where you'll end up with a crescent cut failure instead of a throat failure, is what happens. It'll be a base of the case that might fail instead of what will happen is, at the least, it'll have failure to extract, possibly, as you know, or it could shear the base of the case if it's overstressed at the base, depending on how the round seats once the barrel's in place. So that's the only consideration.
And polishing?
Could
throating and polishing help on that?
Possibly,
maybe?
Yes, it would. And again, I'd have to see it. If you could, that's where you see, that's the problem. You're on the edge. Usually you're given an accommodation of up to 0.003 of an inch in interactive motion. It means, though, that when it gets to final seating, whatever it does, when everything rests, then you've only got, depending how sloppy this is, what model is this again? Which
it was the 1911 45 tactical, with the rails on the front.
Right. Okay. So it's got extra meat up front, but that's not going to do us any good. Well, I'd almost have to see it, but the only good thing, you know what? It is a 1911.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It may not be. It may have been a precision, but what you may have done is created a standard rattle battle 1911. It may still be serviceable, but what you're going to have to do is, I would do, first of all, a series of pickup tests, put it together, do a series of pickup tests with primer only, put a primer in some, it'll reload some brass, primer only, look to see what your function test result is, how the gun responds. You'll have to manually guide it in. You can't just load that up out of a magazine. But you may be able to at least test to see if all components seated, if anything unique transpires. What you will see is carbon blowback if you have excessive space. That's what you watch for, is carbon blowback around. With a primer, it'll be dirty, even though it's smokeless.
Okay.
That's the solution. That's the first thing to do is test. We're going to now you brought an interesting subject I'll have to talk to somebody else about, too. Okay, we're going to go, though. Close with me for the moment. God bless the Republic.
Death to the New World Order.
Hoorah! We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run.
And we are on the march both day and night.
Day and night.
Very good. Gentlemen, keep it up. We got a lot of work to do. The bad guys are in motion. They're burning down the West. They promised they would. They told you they'd light the fire, and they've been bragging about it. Now they're doing it. What are you going to do, America? We'll be back about 1 hour. Ed taking over. More Liberty Tree Radio coming up right here. Don't touch that dial. God bless. Bye-bye.